Welcome to Choosing Us. I'm Brittany.
I'm Jake.
And together, we're the LaGrassos. As high school sweethearts, best friends, and ultimate long-distance survivors,
We're talking Dallas, Texas to Japan.
we've learned and developed some tools to keep our relationship full of life and fun.
If you want to learn how to navigate life while creating the relationship of your dreams, you are in the right place.
So whether you're dating, married, navigating long distance like we once did, or somewhere in between,
We hope we can make you laugh, think outside the box, and dream bigger as we walk alongside you wherever you're at.
we'll be hosting you on this journey through honest, unscripted conversations centered on biblical principles.
Together, we will be embracing the challenges
And joys,
of relationships, knowing that though it's not always easy,
choosing us is always worth it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to
Choosing Us. We are so glad you guys are here. What were you going to say?
I was gonna say the Choosing Us podcast.
Oh, they know they're
The
here. They just
Choosing
listened to
Us
the trailer.
podcast. Anyway, honey, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about choosing pursuit. Do you want to explain our little visual today?
Yes, we have an intimacy card deck. It's by Best Self. And in this card deck, there are several questions which have a plethora of
Topics and questions to get
such
to know your partner.
as, Brittany,
Are we doing one right
what
now?
are 5 things on your bucket list?
5 things. Okay, well, we are filming this late Sunday night after the Super Bowl. So first one is watching Usher live, like at a concert, not dancing with him.
He was good. That was like one
That
of
was
the
so good.
best.
Really quick, if you're listening to this Monday morning or whenever you're listening to this, 13 years ago, I danced in Super Bowl with Usher. So I've shared a field with him. He's super, super talented. Would love to see him live. So that's one. I definitely want to go to
an Usher
Europe.
concert, is that what it was?
Yeah, going to Usher concert is one. These are in no particular order. I want to go to Europe and eat my weight in pasta and wine. Like, that's what I want to do. We've been making homemade pasta and homemade bread. Game changer. I don't even know if I'm ever gonna really buy
What
another
was for
box
dinner
of
tonight?
pasta.
Just quick.
We had homemade burgers, like homemade start to finish. Aside from growing the lettuce, onion, and tomato, I made
the buns,
made the patties, we made the fries.
We bought a cow,
No, we didn't.
then butchered it.
Okay, so Europe, not Super Bowl. Going to an Usher concert. I would really love to be able to take a month vacation and go somewhere tropical,
Sabbatical.
Like whatever business we have, be able to have a staff or something that we wouldn't have to. Like, we could check in if we wanted to, but like if we stopped working for 30 days, it wouldn't fall apart. And
Yes.
like by then we would have a family and stuff. So I would love to be able to take our kids. Like,
Brittany
on a
talking with her
month
hands
long.
on the audio. If you
Sorry,
just heard
I'm so sorry.
that was Brittany
Yeah, I
getting
accidentally
excited.
punched the mic.
All right, so we're at 3.
4. I don't know. This
I
is
love
so
doing things
hard.
unscripted and
I
just putting you
know
on
this
the
is
spot.
not fun. You like totally
Do
spun
you want me to
this
put
on
2? That way we complete 5?
No, this was
Wow.
my question.
Just trying to help.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
No, I wasn't thinking about it. We should go back to Japan at some point.
Oh yes. Oh my gosh.
That'd be fun.
And I feel like you would eat so much more.
That's debatable. For those of you who don't know, but Brittany and her family lived in Japan for a while. I got to visit, and at the time, I was very, very picky. in
You
my
weren't as
food.
picky as you had been before.
I was still really picky. That was the first time I had shrimp.
Was it?
It was technically fried prawns.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so going to Japan is 4, and I think we should go to not Egypt, Moses, Israel together. That'd be fun.
Oh yeah, that would be really, really
Yeah,
fun.
I got to go to Israel.
See the
once, so that
Bible
was really
come to
cool.
life. I hear so many people say when they go to Israel, it's like the Bible in color for them. So I'd love to do that.
It was really cool. Great. So we have our top 5. Anyway, the point of that exercise was this deck is full of a bunch of different cards, different categories
And
of
this
questions.
is not sponsored at all. Like, we bought
No.
this with our own money.
Haven't to be sponsored by anybody. I'll accept all your money and
No,
things.
there are certain people we will not accept money
Okay,
from.
you're right.
We have boundaries here.
Like-minded things.
Yes.
Anyway, the overall goal of this is to get to know your spouse better, right?
Yes.
Significant other, spouse in our case. And then we have a fancy, this looks like I could break it. I'm not
It's
gonna touch
a
it very much.
rose, but it's a forever rose. and Jake gets me flowers because I love them, even though they die. And there are two sides of the camp when it comes to flowers. Some people are like, oh my gosh, it's so romantic. And there are like the practical people who are like, oh my God, they die. But the purpose of that is like, yes, I know they die and I kind of don't have the greenest thumb in the world, but flowers, like they will die anyways because they've been cut from their root. But Jake will surprise me randomly because of,
She needs to brighten her day.
Valentine's Day is coming up, but like on a random day, he'll bring home flowers because he knows I like it. And he knows that speaks to my heart. And so today's episode is all about pursuit and never letting that die, because your relationship is hopefully you're playing for keeps, and you don't want to lose that spark after dating. Yeah. It can be so easy to get into a rut. I mean, we're coming up, we just celebrated 4 years married, and 10 years together.
My voice was there we go. I was trying not to be too loud.
10 years together, 4 years married, and we could like totally be like, yeah, we're past the honeymoon phase, past the newlywed phase. We're just gonna hit cruise control and just see where life takes us. Yeah. But that's not where we want to be. I mean, we are truly committed to a forever honeymoon, and we want to pursue each other consistently. We want to continue learning about each other. And so the whole point of this episode is to share about why and how we do that.
Yeah. And I think we've even seen that in dating too. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we dated for
6 years.
5 years, 6 years, 5 years, 6 years. I think it was
6. It
was our 5-year anniversary that we got married.
Yeah, but we are friends. I kind of count that first year.
High school dating, so that like cuts the time.
It's a little bit confusing.
Cuts the time in half, really. But obviously, we were going to get married. Well, we, in our case, did not get married right after high school. We got married after college, after we got some things figured out in life. But we've seen people who, you know, had dated for extended years and kind of get in a stalemate at some point.
Yeah.
Right. And I think part of that is the pursuit stops.
Yeah.
You know, you get comfortable, you get complacent, and that eagerness, that desire to grow, to continue furthering things just stales.
Yeah.
Right. And that puts you in a really uncomfortable spot. We've seen those couples sometimes break up because of that, or have
you feel like you don't
call.
Do you feel like that? I think this is why people feel like they don't know each other anymore, because the pursuit has stopped. When couples get divorced, or they're like, I don't know my spouse anymore, you know, it could be a myriad of things. Like they put the kids first, and so when the kids leave the nest, they don't know their spouse because there's been no pursuit. Like something that was modeled for us from some mentors of ours was, they say, you know, when they get home from work, mommy first. You know, like before kids came along, the marriage came first. Yeah. And when the kids leave, the marriage is still there. So what
that means is the husband would kiss the wife first.
Yeah, so the husband would kiss the wife first. You know, the kids would come running up to him, but he would say mommy first. And so he would kiss his wife, their mother, and then he would give the snuggles and, you know, and chain of command in that way. But, you know, what I was saying is so many couples, they just lose themselves either in kids, in work, in whatever. And even us, like we could be in a spot where we're growing and building and scaling our businesses to where we could throw date night out the window. Now we do something most couples don't, and we actually do work together, and we have businesses together, and we enjoy it. You know, we kind of came to this conclusion that we're like, I think we're workaholics, but we enjoy it. You know, we've heard it said as
integrated life.
Yeah, work life integration versus work life balance, because our life is so, you know, we have this podcast and we have this brand we're building and we have our businesses. It can be hard to separate and have hard boundaries, and we don't want those because we truly love working together and doing everything together. But that doesn't mean that pursuit stops.
Yeah. So I think bringing it back as far as like, for me, this was new to me, right? So going back to high school when we first started our relationship, I'm not going to go into the super depths of this conversation.
Oh, I know where you're going.
Or the multiple conversations I had with Brittany's father. However,
but you were pursuing me from the very beginning.
Yes, there was Brittany was the first of her parents' children to.
I'm the oldest.
Yes, to date and all that stuff. And so it was kind of like everybody figuring out a new rhythm at the time. We're all great now, don't worry. But but there was a lot of emphasis, specifically Brittany's parents. You know, I was just like, you know, standard high school experience, had a few I don't know if I had an elementary school girlfriend. Probably up third grade I did. And so, just like the standard cultural, like, oh, you're cute. You don't
Do
know
you
it.
have a girlfriend? Do you
Yeah,
have a
yeah, yeah,
boyfriend?
yeah. All that. Ugh. I'm going to do things different. But anyway, the there was a very strong emphasis from Brittany's parents on pursuit, right? And
Being
so we actually
intentional.
had a season of dating before we were dating, a season of dating before we were
We had a
boyfriend,
title.
girlfriend,
Yeah.
exclusive, all that stuff. And that really helped set the pace. And again, I have no regrets or issues,
Yeah.
looking back now. At the time, initially, I was like, like, I like her, just let me date her,
Yeah.
But I did have a desire to pursue her, and that's something that we've discussed multiple times. I never wanted to miss an opportunity to pursue Brittany, and that's the reason for a lot of our dating perseverance, right?
Yeah.
So Brittany at one point, like I said, moved to Japan with her family. We had recently taken a break at one point. We were on a break.
I was being really dumb.
Brittany was being really dumb in her own words.
Hey.
I said in your own words. You just anyway. So we had been broken up for a little bit. We had actually just officially like gotten back together.
Yeah.
Popped the question of will you be my girlfriend again, and we were together, and then she found out she was moving, and so
like literally probably within 14 days,
Brittany was like, we don't have to do this. We don't.
I was never going to put that on him. I mean, that like, we just got back together. I was not going to be like, yeah, let's totally do long distance.
But me, I was like, it's either going to make or break us. And I saw enough in Brittany that dating is an evaluation period of whether this individual could be your spouse, right?
Yeah.
And so I had seen enough in Brittany that she was, quote, wifey material, as I said back in the day. But I seriously knew that I didn't want to miss an opportunity to pursue her. Not that she's perfect, not that she's an idol.
And you actually told me that. Like, those were the exact words you said. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to allow you to pursue me, and we'll give it a shot.
Across the world.
Yeah.
And so back to the start of our relationship, I think one of the reasons that we got to that point was because of the intentionality and the focus on pursuit, on dating, on making Brittany feel cherished and wanted, and pursuit is the only really word.
Yeah.
Do you remember? So there's the two, John Eldridge and
Stassi Eldridge.
Stassi, is that her name? Interesting. I didn't even know that was her name.
Maybe it's Stacy, and I just read it as Stassi.
I have no idea, but I didn't think it was like. I thought it was a different. I don't know, just like. So I thought it started with a K.
Anyways, the
regardless
husband and wife duo that wrote Captivating and Wild at Heart. It's a book series for you to understand like the inner workings of you as a young man or you as a young woman, and we actually and vice versa. You can read the other copy just to kind of
fully remember Captivating, but I remember in Wild at Heart, it talks about. It's been a long time since we read this book, like a dozen years. But I remember one portion of it was every man needs a woman to save or something along those lines.
A beauty to fight for.
Beauty to fight for. Thank you. And so there's in that context, men oftentimes have that desire to fight, to win, to champion, to rescue, and have that kind of heroic archetype.
Yeah.
Right. And so in that, there is a opportunity in our day-to-day lives to live that out and to pursue it. And actually, I think in my experience, it helps fuel that when I successfully surprise Brittany or swipe Brittany off her feet or whatever that is, that helps fuel like me, myself, but it also fuels our relationship. Yeah. Right. What's the women's equivalent of that in the book? Do you remember?
Being fought for.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much the exact opposite. Same thing, having someone pursue you and cherish you, lack of a better word, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things that you've done for me, I remember there was one morning where, and I'll get into this in a second, but there was one morning we were newly married. Actually, maybe we were a couple years in, and I was not feeling great. And I think you had gone to the gym, but you had written me a little love note. You would put the weather on the top of the page. Jake used to write me notes in the morning and put like what the weather outlook was.
They have the little. Was that the one with the little? Like it has like a sunny, rainy.
Yeah, it was a notebook that had like the weather markings on it. So he put the weather and he just said, "Hey, I'm going to the gym right now. I know you're not feeling well, but I can't wait to come home and just have the day together." And it was probably like a Saturday, a weekend
Mm.
when you didn't have work. And it was so simple. And I knew he was going to the gym. Like he told me, gave me a kiss and, went on his way. But when I woke up, I felt so loved and seen that, he took time to write me a little, doodle and a love note and tell me the weather, even though I probably wasn't going to go outside. But Jake's done little things like that for me for years now. And I have every note Jake's ever written me in a box. And, and, and
if you just saw my face, sorry, I get overwhelmed by all the.
I'm a little sentimental, and sometimes it drives Jake crazy. But
We have a lot of boxes.
We do have a lot of boxes of sentimental stuff.
Another conversation for another time.
But I never want to lose sight of that. And like one day when we have kids, I want to be able to show our kids, that daddy fought for us and for our relationship. And, even when it wasn't easy. And I have like silly stuff from when we were dating in high school. And like, I have our like prom corsages and boutonnieres and stuff like that. But
my flower stayed good for a long time. What is that?
Your boutonniere.
And then we found it recently and it was like
disintegrated. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been 10 years.
Yeah. But we didn't like put it in a glass box. It was like literally just in a cardboard box.
Yeah, we didn't like preserve it. That was not Instagram trending when we were in high school. But as you were just talking, it just, we have been through, a lot, but the thing that has kept us has been our pursuit of each other. And it goes both ways, like, yes, Jake does pursue me, but same thing for me. I get to figure out how to love my husband better. And one of the things, like going back to when you have googly eyes and you're dating, I quickly learned that Jake's love language was letters. And so even when
words of affirmation specifically.
Sorry, yes, words of affirmation. So I would write him letters when we would be apart, when we would do long distance. Yeah. When I remember when you went to Israel, I wrote you a couple of letters.
Yeah.
One for every day you were gone. And I love that too, so just like he writes me notes and stuff. And, that's one practical thing. Another thing.
Can I ask a question? Interject here. Do you remember the jar for Japan?
Which one?
I was a square glass jar.
Yeah.
And I put a bunch of sticky notes and folded them up. Different. I color coded it somehow.
Yeah, they were different verses, right?
Yeah, different verses or encouragements or something.
Yeah.
For you when you were not feeling great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
so those are little things you can do. I mean, pursuit also looks like, for us, we're in a very busy season. We have something Monday through Thursday every single night for like the next ever. Yeah. And we're traveling. We've got traveling this weekend, traveling next month, traveling in April, May, pretty much
June, July.
Yeah, the rest of the year. But what it looks like for us is we get out our planner and we plan our date night because we never want that to go to the wayside.
Yeah.
And sometimes date night is, fancy and we get dressed up and we actually go out to dinner. Sometimes it's, hey, let's make this half business, half us connect time.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, let's just go to Shields and just walk around and see what's new.
Yeah.
But we
for a drive.
Yeah, and we make time for each other because we want to connect and we never want to lose our relationship or our marriage in the midst of busy.
Yeah. It's good. So I think taking it a turn a little bit, getting more into the dating world, I can definitely speak on the guy side, but I want to hear your thoughts first on, I think from what we've seen, I'll just start with the guys. So I think a lot of times guys will not pursue girls very well. And I've heard it said so many ways to so many. I'm sorry, I'm filtering a lot of this unscripted podcast in my brain, but there's a lot of content on dating in the Christian world and on dating in church and all those things. But one of the consistent threads I see so often is that guys aren't asking girls out. Guys aren't having that boldness. They're and for whatever reason it is, but they're ultimately just being passive and timid.
Yeah,
and that's
not going to help your odds. You literally cannot hit if you don't swing.
Well, that, but also like it takes away from your, and I mean, I don't know if integrity is the right word, but from your it's going to decrease the It's gonna set you back starting your relationship if you're not the one starting it.
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't mean it can't be it can't be good or anything like that. But at the end of the day, like guys have to start initiating more. Guys have to be the pursuer, and this is in dating, and this is in marriage, and this is going forward.
Y'all want to
And
know a secret of how Jake got my number?
okay, honey, why do we gotta? We're talking.
Well, but
here.
I'm telling you an example. Like Jake asked me for my number. It's not that he like waited around for me to give it to him. We had messaged a little bit on Twitter because Instagram was not the hot place to
slid
be.
in her DMs before sliding in DMs was a thing.
Yeah, and he had an Android. I brought him back over to the iPhone world, guys. Don't worry. And he was like, "Hey, I can't see your emojis on my phone. Can I get your number?" I was like, "Sure."
Smooth, guys. Smooth.
So
okay?
I don't really. Was that a pickup line? Was that true?
It was 100% true.
Okay, I'm just making
because
sure.
like there was, I don't know, I couldn't see it on
anyways,
Twitter. Okay.
Jake put himself out there and he asked for a number, and I guess the rest is history.
Yes, and
back on the tracks.
Back on the train. Back on the tracks. So bottom line is, yes, women, and like you said, you do pursue me. There's various ways, like she's written notes, encouragements, just for me, oftentimes, and for I think a lot of other guys too. Just hearing, I'm proud of you. I respect you.
Yeah.
I, happily follow you.
Yeah.
Those are things that you're doing a good job. That's probably the thing that most men need to hear.
Love and respect. I mean, men need respect. And really quick, back to the dating thing. It is not fun being rejected. Like if you put yourself out there from a guy's perspective and she shoots you down. No, of course that's not great to hear or feel, learned. But it gives you practice, like you're getting your reps in. Not that you're going to go ask every girl out you ever see.
You know how you get good at sales?
You get a bunch of no's until you get a yes.
Ask a lot of questions.
So
try to make a lot of sales.
You just have to get better at either reading people or figuring out what your type is, or self-awareness of are you ready for that? But that's not this episode. We'll talk about that in another episode.
Focus right now is pursuit.
Yes.
And so bottom line is I think oftentimes men are too passive, and you'll see, I mean, I say this all the time, but man's first sin, I think, was passivity.
Yeah.
And we are just naturally bent towards that, but it's something we need to fight. We men can be, what's the opposite of passive? Aggressive, a healthy initiative. And so that's something that's important, especially in your relationship.
Yeah.
Because Brittany wants to feel pursued. So where I was going with that is it's very easy. And this has happened because we're busy and we're doing things. We schedule date night. We don't schedule what's going to happen. We get in the car. This literally just happened the other day. And where are we going to go?
Don't know.
And we're like figuring it out. We're having a conversation about it. And that is not ideal. Like I said,
it's not ideal. But what we do instead of sitting in that, I don't know, okay, we're not going to have a date night, I just tell Jake, start driving and we'll figure it out.
We'll pick something out. But on the opposite end, there have been dates where I've told Brittany,
get dressed, wear this.
We have a reservation at 8.
Yeah.
And
that's all I know.
That is all she knows. But what's the difference in your experience in those two situations?
I like both. Obviously, it is much more fun when there's surprise. I love surprises. I am terrible at ruining them. But when a man takes initiative, it's attractive. Like, that's really hot to me. So I love when he does that because it's like I can just sit back and be treated like a princess. Now, the times when it's like, you know what, just get in the car and start moving. The reason why I have Jake drive is because we just need to take action. Any forward action is better than sitting in your funk or talking yourself out of a date. And this goes with anything. This goes with business. This goes with, when you're pursuing goals and dreams. This goes with even going to the gym. Like just continuing to do your reps versus just laying on the mat like, okay, well, I'm not going to do it. You know what? The time's going to pass anyways. So you can either we're big
jump in that cold plunge.
Jump in the cold plunge. We're big on, we're just going to jump and we'll build our wings on the way down and hopefully not crash. I mean, I said it to you today, we're working on some stuff and I'm like, this plane is not crashing. We're building our wings because we're going to fly. Like there's no other option but to fly. And that's how I feel about our relationship and our marriage. Like there are times when it's like we don't have anything planned, but we have the time blocked off on our schedule, and we are not going to let that time go wasted because it's important for our marriage
Yeah.
and the health of our marriage and like the future we want to pursue one another and be intentional with our time.
And so that being said, I think one of the most important things is how to pursue one another, right? Every individual is different. Every
Yeah.
person's going to be different. Everybody's going to have different love languages, but I think there are some common themes. And I think science has proven there's some common themes
Yeah.
amongst our differences. And so one of those things is, and this leans into the last point I made, but women generally speaking, women's number one need is what?
Security.
Security and safety, right? And so when you have when a man will create that like security of the evening, right?
Yeah.
You have
it is.
you have expectations on what to wear, what time to be ready, what the temperature is going to be, maybe if that's relevant, and that dinner's already set. Like everything's already set for you.
Yeah.
Your brain, I know Brittany, and her brain is not like pinballing anymore. It's just like,
yeah.
It,
I do want to bring up one other like left side kind of thing. The
sure.
other night we were super busy and we had already planned a date night in, and I was out all day. I had a couple appointments, and we already had planned that we were going to do a date night in and make pasta. So make homemade pasta, back to our little Italy trip. But we had been kind of experimenting, and we wanted to make raviolis, and it was going to be really fun. We were looking forward to it. We like ordered the whole ravioli tablet and everything. And I came home and, we're starting to get dinner ready. And I looked at Jake and I was like, his hair was done. He got dressed for me. And this was a home date night. But like I was already dressed and I had my hair and makeup done. And Jake could have easily like been in sweats because you were home all day.
Sweats, shirtless,
And but I came home and he like had a button down on and his hair was done and like his gel was in. And I don't know if you put cologne on, but I was like, okay, it's date night. And what did you say to me when I got home and I asked, did you get dressed?
I don't know what I said.
You don't have to say the exact thing, but like, why did you do that?
Well, the bottom line is because I wanted you to feel pursued and like it was important. I have no idea what I said though. Do you remember what I said?
I mean, you said something to those lines, but I wanted you to share that. Like you didn't, I didn't tell him to get dressed.
Pop quiz.
See how it feels when you're put on the spot. No, but I didn't tell you to do that. You did that on your own because you wanted it to feel special and like date night.
Yeah. I mean, it's so easy just to like go through the motions. And there's a song that's playing in my head. I don't want to go through the motions. But at the end of the day, like I think you have to live out of a perspective of gratitude. My nose is so itchy. I'm sorry. I just keep scratching and itching. I think we just have to live out a perspective of gratitude because like at the end of the day, genuinely, we don't know how long we're here.
Yeah.
Right. We don't know we don't live in fear. We don't anticipate anything drastic or crazy happening. Sorry, I talk with my hands too. I hit the thing. But at the end of the day, I don't want to miss an opportunity to pursue Brittany. I don't want to miss an opportunity to capitalize on a date night. Even if it's a date night in, I personally prefer to go out for one reason, primarily. Dishes. I can't stand dishes. Like the date is the fun part. Like cooking, all of that, eating is great. Dishes is just like, it's the worst. But at the same time, that was a specific night we could not go out. And so it's important to still make those nights in meaningful, still take those moments, those opportunities to build your relational bank, to build your relationship and invest in each other. And because like I said, I mean, like you said, the time's going to happen regardless, right? You can have a crappy date night. I mean, you could have a no date night. You could have a subpar where you are both left feeling wanting, like it could have been better, or you could do your best to knock the socks off the other person and you see how you could surprise them, and make them feel pursued, wanted, loved, respected, whatever.
Yeah. And there are ways you can make date night fun too. Like I've seen things, and maybe we should implement this too, of like writing every restaurant you like to go to on a popsicle stick and color coordinating it by price point and then pulling one.
I don't know. Did I tell you about my date guide?
No. Oh, yes.
Yeah. At one point, I had built out.
Oh my gosh. When did you do this?
This was years ago, but it was pre-marriage. But I had built, maybe it was like just married, but I had this huge, like, it wasn't a spreadsheet, it was like a document of like, you have like 16 categories of, or I don't know, you have like 4 categories of type of food, right? So like Chinese, Thai, Italian, American, right? And then you had locations. And so basically I was like, maybe I should build this into an app. Like I was trying to do it all. But then you have like locations, like how far do you want to go? What type of atmosphere do you want? Do you want outdoor, indoor, like all those things, and try to like pinpoint the, like, the date night, just because a lot of
Vibe.
times you will lapse into a, settle into just something that you
What's
is
routine?
easy or routine, because you don't want to go through all of the obstacles in, everything I just said.
And routine is okay until it's not.
Yeah.
Like if you're in your routine and you love going to get Mexican food every Friday night with the same, dish and chips and salsa and margarita, like that's totally fine until you get complacent and then it's not. I know Jake's like really wanting chips and salsa
Fajitas,
and
black bean
a
dip.
margarita right now.
Sorry.
But we love this place that has amazing black bean dip, like
Okay,
down the street.
focus.
Anyways, but that's fine until you get complacent and then you just stop pursuing one another. Like that can be great to get you in the mix of getting a regular date night in, but when it becomes, just routine and regular and then you stop, having the deep conversations, then that's when, you might want to pull in another idea.
Yeah. All right, so we have, I think, talked a good, I was gonna say gambit. Is that a thing? Took the whole gambit.
The whole gamut.
Gambit? There's a gambit. Regardless,
Just stop using that
we
phrase.
have talked a holistic conversation, I believe. Is there anything else we want to leave the choosing users with?
Pursuit is fun. Don't think of it as a like you have to do it. It is fun. Allow it to be fun. It can feel sometimes it can feel like, oh, like we're not getting this or it's hard to learn something new, but when you look at it with a fresh perspective and with fresh eyes, like I get to learn more about my spouse. I get to be drawn closer
Yeah.
to my boyfriend or girlfriend, if we are figuring out if we're compatible for marriage. If you look at pursuit in that perspective with, a posture of gratitude and you're grateful to be able to be on a journey with this person, then it will be fun. I think when we pursue one another and we find ways, it's almost like now we kind of think of it as a game. Like, can we, not that we want to outdo each other because we don't use that language even though we're competitive, but just like how can I surprise Jake and how can I love him better and get him good and surprise him better than he surprised me the last time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think um, I'm just going to start talking because I have a lot of thoughts. But you said when you feel stuck, you just need to move, right? And so I
Yeah.
heard this in the concept of chess. So if you're playing, you're playing a game of chess with somebody, and you're what's it called? You're at a stalemate, right? No matter what move you make, some like one of your pieces is going to get taken.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to move.
Yeah.
Like there's sometimes in life where our only decision is going to be something that costs us something.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Because
and
when you move, you will have a different perspective. You may
Yeah.
have different resources. You may have, like, you're going to see something differently. And I think just it's really easy to get stuck and to get complacent. And sometimes,
Yeah.
honestly, you may make a move to pursue your significant other spouse, and it may flop.
And that's okay.
It may,
You can learn from that.
yeah.
I mean, it's just like the principle of you win or you learn.
Yeah.
There's no losing.
Yeah. And so my encouragement to each of you would just be to, one, take that move to pursue your spouse. Do something different than that you haven't done in a long time, or that you haven't ever done. Like, do something that shows that you are willing to pursue them, because pursuit oftentimes will cost you something, and that's okay, because a lot of times we don't want to sacrifice. We're very closed arms. You're very, like, trying to protect everything. But when you open up, when you are willing to be vulnerable and allow something to cost you, that's when it'll, like, that's the most risk, the most reward, right?
Yeah.
So you may get hurt, but you may end up taking your relationship 3 levels further, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I would just encourage you with, is having that willingness to step out, and even if it flops, to not get discouraged in that, but to keep choosing pursuit, keep choosing to pursue your spouse regardless of, or significant other, regardless of the short term because in the long term it will be beneficial.
Yeah.
But oftentimes when you're in a rut, you just have to figure out like how do you get back into a rhythm, right? How do you
Yeah.
get back into having you and your spouse look at each other with googly eyes? Because there's seasons, there's season in the valley, there's
Yeah.
season on the mountaintop, but you don't want to stay in the valley and adopt
Yeah.
the language of the valley, if you
Yeah.
will.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. One other thing I just want to leave you guys with is, you know, as you are pursuing, you're making investments into your relational bank. So
Mm-hmm.
even though it might feel like a sacrifice, or it might feel like there's no ROI in this like immediate moment, that pursuit over time is going to give you a track record in your relationship that then you're like, oh wow, look how far
Yeah.
we've come. You know, and I even see that with us too. Like we've continually made things fun.
Yeah.
And you know, there are times when it's not so fun, and you've told me like, okay, we're getting out of the house and we're just gonna go do something, whether it's get ice cream or a strawberry limeade, which has flopped the last couple
Man.
times. Then we go to Walmart and we go get something else.
Yeah.
And we make it happen and we make it work because we know our relationship needs it. And so we hope this has been encouraging
Yes.
to you. Is there anything else you want to leave them with?
No. I'm sorry. I was debating when you said that. I was debating like going into a whole other spiel, but I think we can say that for next episode. Keep you on your toes.
Okay. Well, we've already got something in the works for next episode, but thanks for joining us for this one. We hope to see you on next episode. If this has been helpful, share it with somebody. Make sure you're following us on Instagram to keep up to date with what's happening. What do you want to say?
What's this week?
What?
What's this week?
This week is Valentine's Day, so make sure you pursue
exactly
your significant other. So buy the roses or the flowers or whatever their favorite flowers are. Chocolate, candy.
If Valentine's Day is important to your spouse, do something on Valentine's Day.
Yes.
If it's not, do something the day after because it'll be cheaper.
I like how you're thinking, honey. Anyways,
y'all have a blessed one.
Have a good one.
For your time. We'll see you next time.